When Barbara said she found the apartment, she was intense about it. Not excited, not giddy. No, she was dead serious, as if she had found the last drop of water on earth. "It has to be this one," she said, scrolling through pictures like she was flipping sacred scripture. I looked at her. I could have lived in a cardboard box under a freeway overpass and still thought I had it good if she was with me. So we took it. A two-bedroom across from a park that had more weeds than grass, a building that looked like it had seen better decades, but it was ours. She unpacked her things with precision. I tossed my stuff in piles. She lit scented candles. I cracked open a beer. I would have told Barbara was the one thing in my life that made sense. Everything else, work, money, the future, all that was a blur. But her? Solid. Real. Certain. We were at that stage where everything still feels new but safe. Picking out stupid little things for our new apartment. Arguing over curtains like it mattered. Falling asleep mid-conversation because just being next to each other was enough. I wasn't looking for cracks. I didn't want to find any. Maybe that's why it hit me so stupidly hard when everything fell apart, not in some dramatic explosion, but in tiny, absurd ways that I almost could have laughed at if it hadn't gutted me first. You think betrayal comes like thunder, but sometimes it creeps in on tiptoes, wearing the same perfume you bought her last Christmas. And you don't see it until it's already been living in your house, eating your food, sleeping next to you at night. Until you realize you were just one window away from being the biggest fool on the block. We met the way most people meet now, through an app we both pretended we were too good to use. Her profile said she liked bad horror movies, diner breakfasts, and long drives nowhere. I thought she was lying. Nobody that good is actually real. Our first date was at a coffee shop that smelled like burnt beans and teenage regret. She showed up in ripped jeans and an old band t-shirt. No makeup. No posing. Just Barbara, sharp smile, sharper eyes. I was hooked before my latte even cooled. The first few weeks felt like something out of a song you're embarrassed to admit you like. Late nights, dumb jokes, sharing fries across sticky tables. She'd steal my hoodies. I'd pretend not to notice. We had that stupid kind of chemistry where even arguments felt like flirting. It was fast, but it didn't feel reckless. It felt inevitable. About 3 months in, when we were practically living out of each other's apartments anyway, she said one night, her voice half buried against my chest, "We should just get a place together. It's stupid not to." I kissed the top of her head. "Yeah," I said. "Let's do it." We spent weekends hunting for apartments, laughing at the terrible ones, mocking the ones that had charm written in the listings but smelled like dead things. When she found the one she wanted, she was weirdly intense about it. "This one," she said, her finger jabbing the screen. "I feel good about this one." I didn't care. Looking back, there were things I didn't question, little things. But when you're in it, when you're still drunk on hope, you don't notice the smell of smoke until the whole place is burning. At first, everything felt right. We cooked late. She danced in the kitchen with a glass of red wine. I told jokes she didn't always laugh at, but she smiled like she loved me for trying. The first week in the new place felt like a honeymoon. If honeymoons came with broken plumbing and a neighbor who played the trumpet at midnight like he was auditioning for Satan's marching band. Barbara loved it, though. She loved the creaky floors. She loved the peeling paint. She loved the way the front door stuck so badly that every time we came home, we had to body slam it open like we were raiding a drug house. She called it character. I called it potential. We laughed and told ourselves it was ours. But even early on, there were little things that, if I'd been smarter, if I hadn't been stupid in love, might have meant something. Like how she'd get a text and suddenly remember she had to go water the plants in the bedroom. We didn't have any plants. Not one. Or the way she started staying up late after I fell asleep, claiming she was reading. What book was 400 pages of giggling and whispering into her phone? I don't know. Maybe 50 Shades of Oh Hell No. Or that one time, around 3 in the morning, when I felt her get out of bed. Half asleep, I mumbled, "Bathroom?" She said, "Yeah." And I turned over and drooled into my pillow, thinking love meant trust, And trust meant ignoring the fact that she was gone for an hour and came back smelling like cold air and regret. But I didn't want to be that guy. The paranoid one. The insecure mess who picks fights over nothing and drives good people away. So I smiled. I kissed her forehead. I told myself that true love meant not caring if your girlfriend sometimes disappeared in the middle of the night like a raccoon. I didn't know it yet, but I wasn't building a life. I was building a very elaborate stage for my own public humiliation. It happened on a Tuesday, which already felt like an insult. Nobody expects their life to unravel on a random, stupid Tuesday. I was home early, sweaty and annoyed after helping my coworker move a couch up 3 flights of stairs. He paid me in beer and back pain. Barbara was in the kitchen, clanging dishes with the kind of fake enthusiasm that usually meant she was either about to ask me to unclog something or confess to buying another overpriced candle. All I wanted was a shower, something greasy to eat, and maybe Barbara curled up next to me laughing at some bad TV show. Instead, I found her laptop sitting open on the kitchen table. Now, let me be clear, I wasn't the kind of guy to snoop. I respected privacy. I respected boundaries. I respected the unspoken rule of relationships. Don't go looking for things unless you're ready to find them. But the laptop dinged. An unmistakable sound. That little alert she got whenever someone messaged her on social media. And there it was, her page wide open. I swear I just meant to close it. That was the plan. One quick click and I could pretend I hadn't seen a thing. But then I saw the message. From someone named Evan across the street. Real subtle, buddy. You coming over tonight? Missed you yesterday, winking face. I stood there, dripping sweat onto the linoleum, rereading it like maybe, just maybe, coming over was code for delivering a lasagna or helping install cable. Apparently, while I'd been binge-watching Netflix documentaries about serial killers, Barbara had been keeping up a much more active, hands-on relationship with her ex. The same ex she said had moved on and meant nothing. The same ex who, apparently, kept his blinds open like it was an invitation. The absurd? The messages were so casual. Bring that pink thing again, winky face. You left your sock here, lol. You're better at sneaking out than you used to be. Like it was a routine. Like this was just a normal side hustle to dating me. Spoiler, it wasn't. And because pain loves company, I noticed her photos. Not the ones we'd taken together. No, these were new. Posted under some pathetic anonymous account. Pictures of her, my Barbara, posing in cheap lingerie that I'd never seen in real life. Modeling like she was auditioning for a role called How to Ruin Jacob's Entire Faith in Humanity. Smiling, winking, bending over in ways that were somehow both impressive and soul-crushing. I remember staring at the screen, my brain short-circuiting, thinking, there must be some logical explanation. Maybe it's art. Maybe she's doing a photography project for school, community service, charity for blind men. Anything but the obvious. But deep down, I knew. I knew the way you know when you smell smoke. Even if you don't see flames yet, you know the house is already burning. I closed the laptop. I sat there for a minute, staring at the wall. Barbara came in, wiping her hands on a towel, smiling like she hadn't just shoved a knife between my ribs without even bothering to twist it. Hey, babe, you want pasta or? She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. This is a critical detail to remember if you ever want to spot a liar. They freeze just a split second too long. Just a heartbeat. Just enough to know they're calculating, not reacting. I didn't say anything. I just handed her the laptop. She looked. Her face didn't even crumble. She didn't even cry. She just sighed, like I'd caught her smoking in the bathroom or something. I can explain, she said, which, of course, made it so much worse. She started to tell me that he was forcing himself on me, constantly writing. But I only love you. Everything with him is over long ago and doesn't make any sense anymore. It turned out that Evan lives across the street, Barbara added. And after these words, I decided to turn on the naive boy, because the most interesting thing in quotes is yet to come. And that's how that Tuesday ended, damn it. It was so much worse than I expected. It was a Friday evening, the kind where the sky looks like someone smeared bruises across it. I came home with Chinese takeout and a stupid little smile because Barbara had texted me earlier. Miss you. Hurry home. Yeah, I was an idiot. I walked in and heard laughter. Not TV laughter. Not Barbara laughing at a meme on her phone laughter. But the specific kind of laughter that people make when they're doing something they shouldn't. The breathy, careless, I'm in a bubble where consequences don't exist kind. I froze. It was coming from the spare room, the one we never used. The door was half shut, just enough to make it worse. I crept up, slowly, like a man walking toward his own funeral, holding a bag of dumplings. And when I pushed the door open, God help me, I saw Barbara, in pink thigh-highs, straddling a fucking ottoman. Lighting was set up, camera on a tripod, and across from her, guess who? Evan across the street himself, shirtless, holding a ring light like it was the goddamn Sundance Film Festival. She didn't even scream. She gasped, yes, like a child caught stealing cookies. Evan just stood there, deer in headlights, with the ring light casting a glowing halo around his moronic haircut. My brain, it shorted. The only thing I could think to say was, are we shooting porn in our guest room now? Barbara's face did this thing. It collapsed and inflated at the same time. She scrambled to throw on a robe. Evan held up his hands like he was being arrested by the dumbest, saddest police officer in the world, me. I thought you knew, he stammered. Oh no. You thought I knew? I barked, because apparently barking is what you do when you're living in a cartoon of your own heartbreak. Yeah, she told me you were cool with it, he squeaked. Like, this was her creative outlet. You were supportive. She said it helped her feel empowered. Empowered. What a word. It echoed through the room like a curse. I turned to Barbara. She just stood there, robe half closed. No apology, just panic. The kind of panic you feel when your lies trip over each other in public and fall face first into your boyfriend. I didn't know how to tell you, she mumbled. It just happened. What just happened? You fell onto a camera setup? You tripped into his lap with lingerie on? And then I laughed, because it was either laugh or scream into a bucket forever. The three of us stood there in this awkward triangle of betrayal and bare thighs. Barbara crying, Evan awkwardly holding a diffuser, and me with a bag of now-cold dumplings and a very real urge to set the whole house on fire. We went to the living room. Evan had fled like a scared raccoon, his shirt inside out and a camera tripod still in our hallway. I was sitting on the edge of the couch, dumplings untouched beside me. Barbara paced in her robe, like she was preparing for a TED Talk on how to wreck a relationship in 7 easy steps. I asked her, so you want to try again? Tell me why the hell you were filming lingerie thirst traps with your ex in our house. It's not thirst traps, Jacob. It's art. Intimate, empowering art. You were grinding on an ottoman, Barbara. It was symbolic. It represents female resilience. You moaned Evan and slapped your own ass. What exactly was resilient about that? She crossed her arms like I had offended her with facts. You always belittle my creative side. You never supported me expressing myself. Evan said, don't say his name like he's your guru. He sells sneakers on Facebook Marketplace. She sat down across from me and exhaled dramatically, as if she were the victim. Like catching her was some emotional labor I was unfairly dumping on her. Okay, yes, I made a mistake, but you're overreacting. Oh, am I? You turned our guest room into a low-budget OnlyFans set and forgot to clue in the guy paying the rent. I didn't forget. I just knew you'd get weird about it. I wouldn't have gotten weird if you weren't dry-humping a ring light. She had the audacity to tear up, like some part of her believed crying would reverse time or at least freeze me in place long enough for her to spin a new lie. I just felt trapped, Jacob. I needed to feel something, and he understands me in ways you don't. Barbara, you're not in a French novella. You're in a 2-bedroom with a guy who folds your laundry and just wanted a quiet night of dumplings and TV. Maybe that's the problem. That sentence floated there smug, unbothered, completely detached from the chaos she'd caused. I stood up, walked to the door, turned around and said the last thing I could say without combusting. You know what's empowering, Barbara? Paying your own damn rent when I move out. Then I left. Took the dumplings with me. They were cold, but at least they didn't lie. I returned home after midnight. There was something to think about and make decisions. Somehow, we stayed. I didn't leave her. I know how that sounds. I should have walked out that day with my cold dumplings and whatever pride hadn't already been sucker punched. I should have blocked her number, burned the rope, and written a memoir called I Dated a Performance Artist with Delusions of Instagram Fame. But I didn't. I stayed. Or rather, I paused leaving. She cried. And not the weaponized kind. The kind where snot happens and nothing elegant survives. She didn't have a story this time. No metaphors, no speeches, just a pitiful, shivering, please don't go. And maybe that broke me more than catching her half-naked on camera ever did. We didn't talk about it for a while. Not in the way people think healing works. No dramatic sit-downs. No therapist couches. Just time. Space. Unspoken attempts to do better. She deleted the art page. The tripod disappeared. Evan moved or got evicted. I didn't care. She started cooking again, which sounds small, but it wasn't. She'd leave silly post-it notes on the fridge like, don't eat this. It's experimental. You might die. And somehow, that nonsense made me laugh again. We took walks. Real ones. With hands held like we were auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. I started trusting her again. Not all at once. Trust, it turns out, doesn't grow back. It calcifies. But it was something. She started showing me her messages before I ever asked. She didn't go silent when her phone buzzed. And I softened. I stopped rolling my eyes every time she mentioned crystals or full moon journaling. I stopped checking the guest room like it might bite me. We got weirdly healthy. Started grocery shopping together. Started sleeping like we weren't waiting for the other to bolt. Started acting like we actually chose each other, not just clung on because we were scared to be alone. It wasn't perfect. It was awkward, clumsy, uneven, but it was ours. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like a performance. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Those quiet evenings, the shared meals, the warm hand in mine as we crossed streets like normal people, it all looked like healing. And maybe part of me even felt it. But trust isn't a thing you can force. It's not a muscle. It's a ghost. And the ghost started whispering again. It wasn't even anything obvious. Just a feeling. You know when someone laughs at their phone, then tilts it away just slightly? When you hear your name in their voice when they talk to someone else, but the tone is wrong. When a door closes just a little too gently. One night, she said she was going out to a class. Sound bath. Chakra realignment. Something spiritual and untraceable. I nodded, told her to enjoy it. Watched her leave in that oversized beige hoodie like she was hiding from the world, or maybe from herself. I waited 10 minutes, grabbed my coat, and followed. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe I hoped I was wrong. Maybe I wanted her to be standing barefoot in a circle of women named Star and Willow, humming into bowls. But no, she walked. Fast. Familiar. No detours. And then, there it was. Gray, unwelcoming building. Still standing like some monument to our worst night. She didn't hesitate. Didn't even check over her shoulder. She buzzed herself in like she belonged there. Like she'd always belonged there. I didn't move. I couldn't. I stood behind a tree like a cartoon detective, breath shallow, heart thudding like it had been waiting to prove itself right all this time. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. The whole fantasy, the healing, the post-it notes, the soft laughter over breakfast, it cracked. Fell in on itself. All I could think was, she never stopped. Not really. Or worse, she did stop, but she started again. And didn't think I'd notice. I went home. Didn't say a word when she came back smelling like sandalwood and lies. We didn't fight. Not yet. I just lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, feeling something settle in my chest, a weight I recognized now not as heartbreak, but as clarity. I told myself I wouldn't go back. One night of watching her walk inside should have been enough. One night of betrayal or almost betrayal or whatever mental gymnastics I needed to do to survive it. But the thing is, when you stand that close to the edge, part of you wants to lean in. And I did. The building itself was nothing special, gray, rectangular, 3 floors, like it was designed by someone who hated both beauty and sunlight. But it pulled at me, the way something ugly can, when it contains a truth you're not ready to face. So I started passing by, first during errands, then intentionally. Then I found myself timing walks around Barbara's classes to see if the lights were on. Just in case. Just to know. I told myself I wasn't spying. I was just observing. One afternoon, I saw him, Evan, coming down the sidewalk like he didn't have a single secret in the world. 2 bags in hand, paper, not plastic. One of them had flowers sticking out, the kind you buy at the front of the store when you're trying to look effortless but intentional. He looked happy. Or, no, comfortable. That was worse. He walked right up to the entrance and buzzed himself in. Like this wasn't some fever dream I'd imagined, but a place that still held people, movement, routine. As if my absence from his life didn't matter in the slightest. I didn't follow him in. Didn't need to. Seeing him again, solid, flesh and bone, not just the ghost of that night, was enough. It confirmed something I'd been trying not to believe. He wasn't gone. He was still in it. Still part of whatever orbit Barbara was pretending she'd broken free from. Still close enough to touch. And the fact that she never told me he lived there, that she let us move in just across the street, suddenly felt less like coincidence and more like choreography. One more class. It was Thursday. The air outside was damp and heavy, like it hadn't decided whether to rain or suffocate us. Barbara came out of the bedroom, pulling on that same beige hoodie, the one she always wore to her class. No makeup, hair tied loosely, the casual costume of someone with nothing to hide. She kissed me on the cheek like she'd done 100 times before. "Don't wait up," she said. And then, with that same unbothered grace, she left. I stared at the door for a full minute. My heart wasn't racing anymore. That was the difference. The first time I followed her, I felt like I was breaking some unspoken code. Now? Now I just felt like a man tying the last knot in a noose he'd already been wearing. I gave it 5 minutes. Then I put on my shoes, grabbed my keys, and left. It wasn't hard to follow her. She didn't look back. She never did. People who don't think they're doing anything wrong rarely do. Same route. Same unhurried pace. She didn't head toward any yoga studio or community center. She didn't stop for tea or take a detour for incense. She went straight to that gray building, crossed the street like she belonged to it, buzzed herself in, gone, just like that. And I stood there again, but this time there was no confusion, no self-gaslighting, no maybe she's just catching up with an old friend nonsense. Because I had seen Evan just days ago. I had seen the groceries, the flowers, the comfort in his stride. And now Barbara was walking back into that warmth like it had always been hers. "Class," she said. Yeah, I was done pretending. I didn't knock. I didn't scream. Didn't pound the walls or confront her in the hallway of that gray building. I just walked away. There's a strange kind of peace in knowing you've finally accepted the truth, like closing a door you've been staring at too long. When I got back to the apartment, everything felt smaller. The air, the space, my own body. It was like the place had shrunk around me, no longer pretending to be a home. I didn't pack much, just enough. The essentials, clothes, charger, my dignity, if I could find it. The apartment still smelled like her shampoo, like sleep and lies. There was one thing I needed to do before I left. I grabbed a pen, tore a page from the back of one of those joint, Our Future journals we used to pretend mattered, and I wrote her the only thing that felt honest anymore. "You know what will give you strength, Barbara? Pay your damn rent." I left it on the kitchen counter, right beside her overpriced diffuser and half-drunk green juice. Something about that felt satisfying. Final. Then I walked out. No dramatic closing of the door. No turning back. Just the soft, almost polite click of a deadbolt locking behind me. For good this time. She could keep the apartment, keep the lie, and pay for it herself.